why most Java developers fail to go international and how to avoid it. So I've seen many people here in Dublin who tried to get a job but failed. So if you don't know about my story, so I'm Rafael Del Nero and I moved to Dublin 8 years ago. I am originally from Brazil, São Paulo, and when I moved here, I was very focused on the job, on international job, and that made all the difference. And on top of that, I was also focusing on networking and how to show my work so that people would know the value I could bring to a company. And I also been practicing a lot my English skills consistently. And you're gonna listen to me saying consistency many times because I know this is the key. I know it's the boring thing, it's the difficult thing, but it is what it works, right? Consistency is one of the most important keys for success. Obviously, consistency itself is useless because I can't tell you how many developers I've seen doing the wrong things, thinking they are doing the right things, and they just waste their time and they don't have any results. So you need strategy plus consistency to have results. Otherwise, you will fail. So I've seen some developers here in Dublin who were focusing on the wrong things, right? So in my case, I was focusing on the right things and I got the job. And I saw many developers who were focusing on the wrong things and then it didn't happen, right? It didn't happen because they were, using their times in jobs that wouldn't take them to their final goal. And I totally understand because, there will be things in life that will happen. And sometimes because of our egos, we want to use those things as an excuse. So the thing is that we need to achieve and do our best to achieve our goals despite of what is happening, because there will be always something happening. And that's in my life as well. Like there will be always something happening. Like back in the days, I'm not even I'm going to tell that because I want to tell you how proud I am from that, but it's okay. And I just want to show you that my circumstances weren't the best ones, right? So my family, they weren't rich or anything. We were actually considered poor, but I did the things to achieve my international job, right? So I started, for example, in a very low paying job as a telemarketing. With telemarketing, I didn't even start as a programmer. And I was earning very low salary and it was that then job, right? And basically I had to, do everything I could to advance my career. And the odds were definitely against me, but I preferred to take the challenger mindset instead of the victim mindset and say, oh my God, the world is so mean and I can't do anything, poor me. So I decided, okay, instead of being the poor me, the victim developer, the impatient developer, I decided, okay, I'm going to be the challenger developer and I'm going to achieve that anyway. And that's what I did. And that's the mindset you need to have. Because, for me, it wasn't easy as well. And I can't tell you how many people I've seen here in Dublin who were saying, oh, poor me, I can't do that, blah, blah, blah. And if I had this mindset of, the victim, the poor me, the whining developer, I wouldn't achieve success. So my mindset is like that. Like I'm a challenger, so I'm gonna achieve that. And I want you guys to have the same mindset, right? So, but anyway, what are the points here that will make a developer to fail in getting their international job? So the first big obstacle is definitely English. And I know that this is a big challenge for many of you guys. The thing is that, if you have a weak technical vocabulary, you're going to have problems during the interview. So you have to practice that. And how can you do that? You can watch English courses, technical English courses. So, for example, if you're studying system design or algorithms, prefer watching all the videos in English and actually change your operation system to English, change your phone to English, change everything to English. because you need to make English familiar to you. And the only way to make it familiar to you is by changing absolutely everything you have to English. And, if you don't practice English often, you're going to have also difficulties on design meetings. And the other guys who might even have less knowledge than you, they might get more visibility than you and get promoted faster than you. So that's why you need to practice speaking in English in a technical environment. And sometimes you even have a good English level, but you have low confidence when you're going to speak. So it's important that you develop this confidence, and sometimes you have good enough English, right? So sometimes you just need to do it. And so what is a possible solution to improve your English? Like I said, one of them is to change all your operation systems to English. Another thing is to hire a private teacher. So for example, having a private teacher on English platforms. I personally like English Live because it has, a good price, and you can find teachers from all over the world, and you can have private classes, and they can give you specific feedback on your English, which is great. And get into the habit of watching tech talks in English, and you can even summarize them. You can write articles in English. All of those things will help you to improve your communication skills and also your English skills. And also practice mock interviews in English weekly. And I know that, most developers nowadays are very busy, and sometimes they don't want to do mock interviews. But if you want to do mock interviews more easily and more consistently, there is a Challenger Developer Mentorship, and you can do as many interviews as you want. And the other problem is no focused preparation for international interviews. I can't tell you how many developers I see studying random things, and they don't study at all the subjects of the interview. So what happens? They fail the interview, obviously. That's more than obvious. But I don't know why. Like, developers study random things and that's it. But then how can you pass the interview if you're studying something completely different? It's totally impossible. I don't know if it's because of the mindset that developers think they need to know everything. And that's a big mistake. It's impossible to know everything. We need to be very strategic with our time because we have limited time, right? And that most of you guys here, you have family, you have your personal life, and you really don't have like 5 hours a day to dedicate on your studies. I mean, you already have your full-time job that you spend around 8 hours a day. 8 hours a day. Imagine if you spend more 5 hours to study on everything. Like, you're gonna waste maybe 5 years of your life because technology evolves so fast anyway. What's the point? So that's why we need to be strategic. Otherwise, it's a big waste of time. So, and I can tell you, one of the most valuable things you can study and be really good at is with fundamentals. Because when you study system design or algorithms, there is a very good reason why the big techs will test you with those things. It's because they know that if you study and if you're very good with the fundamentals, what will happen? You can learn any tool very quickly. Remember, the Java programming language is a tool. AWS is a tool. Kafka is a tool. But if you learn the fundamentals before tools, it makes you a faster and a more efficient learner. And I know that it's more difficult to learn the fundamentals, but it is what will get you ahead, right? So if you don't practice system design, if you can't explain the impact of your previous projects, and it's very important when you're doing an interview, you need to know how to explain your previous projects, the value created, and you need to, like, you might get stuck on algorithms as well. There is a very famous thing that many developers go through nowadays, which is the, interview freeze. They give you an algorithm, you freeze, you get nervous. That's, a problem that happens very often with the developers. And what is the solution for that then? So the solution is to, well, you have to practice, right? You have to practice, like, and how can you practice this in design? You can create a small system and, use ChatGPT, use AI to have ideas for a SaaS, for a software as a service. Who knows? You might even make some money, right? So what are your main hobbies? Think of a system you can create and you can join your hobby with software, right? So for example, if you like, I don't know, games, you can create some kind of system for this game, right? Or if you like, I don't know, there's a mentee of mine who likes BMX racing. He's creating a software as a service about BMX racing. And this is excellent because he's practicing his skills, and who knows, he might even make a second income. So why not you, to practice your skills, also create your software as a service? Then you can practice system design, you can practice, well, algorithm, probably not, but system design, it's gonna help you with those skills, because you're gonna have to deploy that somewhere. You're gonna have to, maybe use some components of system design, and you're gonna have to scale your system, who knows? And prepare 6 to 8 star stories for key past projects. And what is this start thing? It's first situation, so you can give a brief context of what was happening, then the problem, and then the task, what was your responsibility, and what were you expected to do, action, and you can say, what did you specifically done to fix this problem? And then the result, you can show the result with some kind of metric or improvements, outcomes. And this is very useful for career highlights. So you can use those things to show, hey, I'm a high value developer. I can solve complex problems and I can bring value to companies. So that's the only way to show that you are a standout developer. You are a developer who is able to solve difficult problems, right? So, and this is also related to consistency, right? Because you can't master algorithms all of a sudden. It will take time. You just have to accept that, have to be a little patient. And if you solve, at least 3 algorithms a week, and if you analyze what happened and, the big O notation and everything, you will definitely improve your skills over time. So knowledge is compounding, right? The more you learn, the more you can connect the dots more quickly, because it's like neuron connections, right? So another mistake that, make developers fail to go international is that they neglect their LinkedIn. So I see so many profiles that are weak and outdated, and therefore they get low visibility to recruiters abroad, and sometimes the profile doesn't even show senior level achievements. So you see, there are some profiles that I don't even see a picture. There are profiles that I have no idea if the developer is a senior or not. There are some profiles that I don't know how many years of experience the developer have, or I don't know their achievements. I don't know anything. Like, the only thing I know that is the developer is a Java developer. But that doesn't make you stand out. If you're just a Java developer, you're gonna be, only one more Java developer among thousands of developers. And then it gets very difficult for you to get international job, because to get an international remote job, you need to stand out in some way. You need to show that you are a highly valuable developer, right? And it's a big mistake if you neglect your LinkedIn profile. So, and what is the solution? So rewrite the about section with clear outcomes. And I will show here one example of my mentee Galo. So Galo is here in the call, and his LinkedIn is well polished, very good. And you can add location independent headline, like senior Java developer, Spring Microservices, cloud. And also it's good for your visibility that you post, something small on LinkedIn at least once a week. It could be, some kind of achievement you made in your job. This is very important, because then you build your visibility bit by bit, and the recruiters will reach out to you more easily if you're doing that. For example, Jader is doing that. He's sharing his knowledge on LinkedIn, and the recruiters are reaching out to him. So let me show you here the LinkedIn from Galo. So this is Galo, my mentee Galo, and As you can see, he has, so this is very good. It's very specific, and his picture is also very good. He's smiling, he's showing confidence. He has also a neutral background, which is great. I've seen some developers who had the background in a forest or like traveling. It doesn't make sense, right? Here you have to have something more professional, right? And you can see that Galo, he is very succinct here, and he talks about his experience. He has more than 12 years of experience working with Java. He has his career highlights, and those are the star things that, he's basically kind of using here the star method, and he's specifying here what were the high value tasks he did, how he delivered value, and how he can bring value to companies, right? And you can see here that he also specified his experience, what he did to each job, and he also writes his tech stack. Why? Because then you become more searchable for recruiters, and he does that for all his experiences, and he has his skills, and yeah, so very good and well polished LinkedIn. And if you want also to have your LinkedIn polished, you can do that in the Challenger Developer Mentorship. And the other thing that makes many developers fail to get an international job is weak mindset. And I know that many developers don't care about the word mindset, and obviously it's not everything. It's not everything. It definitely helps you. So why is that, Rafael? Why mindset helps? Because, for example, when I arrived here in Dublin 8 years ago in 2017, okay, my first goal was to study in English. So I did 4 months of English classes here. And then after 4 months, I shifted my focus and I was focusing 100% on getting a job here. And like my first job interview here was through a referral. So, and that's key, guys. For you to get a job more easily, more quickly, you need to build a reputation. You need to share your knowledge. You need to build trust with other developers so that they recommend you. And this is what I've done. So I've been sharing my knowledge on LinkedIn. I've been adding strategically people from Dublin, not only people, Java developers from Dublin. And what I did before coming to Dublin, like in Brazil, I was already sharing my knowledge to developers who were based in Dublin. This means that they already knew me. So when I arrived here, there were people who already saw my content and they knew about the Java challenges. They thought, oh, they even told me, hey, Rafael, your Java challenges, they're super nice. I really like them. So I was doing this work before coming to Dublin. And this thing really works because when you share your knowledge, people trust you before talking to you. And this is super interesting, right? So the first thing I did here, I built relationship with the Dublin Java user group. So I was talking to them by email before coming to Dublin. And look at the importance of community. So I've been part of SoJava, and I joined SoJava more than 10 years ago, I would say. And like by coincidence, the JUG leader from Dublin sent an email to SoJava São Paulo, and then I was talking to the JUG leader here, and in the first week that I arrived in Dublin, I was already, having a dinner with the JUG leader, and so it's great, right? To have, connections before you go to a country, right? And then I could learn more about the country, could learn more about the market, and it helped me a lot. And that's something you can also do in your career. If you show that you're a valuable developer, everyone will recommend you, right? Because they know that if they recommend you, it's going to be fine, right? And the other thing is that, well, I've been sharing my knowledge. And when I arrived here, okay, my goal was fully 100% English. But after that, when I got serious on finding a job, I was still attending the Dublin Java user group. And this is another lesson, guys. Like, join the Java user group from your city. Go there, meet people, show your value, and put yourself in the shining light, right? And I don't mean, oh, be an arrogant. No, don't be an arrogant, but show your value. So like you can't have this false sense of worthiness, right? Because I know that you guys here, you're amazing developers, right? So you need to put yourself in the shining light and say, and I'm not advising you to brag about the things you've done. I'm advising you to, put yourself good light in a good position and, tell people what you can do, what you did, and listen to their problems and, tell them to join communities, because, for example, like Jadder, he participates in a very nice open source project, OJP. And like in his example, like he can go to Java user group and he can talk about this project. He can invite people to work with him. And guess what? When he does that, he becomes a highly valuable developer and he will become automatically a reference, right? So that's what you must do, guys. So if you are sharing a knowledge, if you have a blog, if you have anything that makes you stand out, you have to let people know about that. And obviously, I'm not saying that there is a fine line here between bragging about yourself. I don't want you to brag about yourself. I want you to help people, right? Because imagine if you bring someone to contribute with your open source project that puts you in a different position automatically, because open source is something that less than 5% of developers do, and you help someone to be a very good software developer, right? And so the weak mindset will definitely make the developer fail. In my case, if I had a weak mindset, I would give up, right? Because even though I had a referral, I had some kind of advantages. Obviously, those advantages, I created my own advantages, right? I wasn't waiting for magic to happen. I made it happen, right? How? I was building my visibility, right? And you can do the same. But still, even with those advantages that I myself created, I failed in not only one, I failed in 2 interviews here. So it was very frustrating and I thought that I wasn't good enough, but I had to keep on trying, right? Because like my mindset was like, I burned the boats. There was no going back. So my mindset was like that. When I came here to Dublin, there was no going back. I was going to get a job no matter what. It was success or success. That was my mindset. And when you have this kind of mindset, you become unstoppable. The problem that I see from many developers that, oh, there is this other option. Oh, I'm gonna go back. Oh, there is this boat. I'm gonna go back. No, man. Like you have this thing, you have to go for it, right? You go, you burn the boats, and you do it, right? So, and that's the mindset you have to have. So, but what makes a mindset weak? So fear of not being good enough. And I had this fear, right? When I failed on 2 interviews here, I had this fear. I said, man, really? I'm not good enough? I've been training so much. Was I studying the wrong things? Was I practicing the wrong things? Was I doing the wrong things? How could I not pass interviews? And I know that you guys also have this feeling. And this is pure ego, okay? And that's just part of the game. We will fail in interviews, that's okay. And I know that it's easier said than done, but the thing is that you can't suppress this rejection. So it's good that you are rejected and you process this feeling somewhere, some way. Because if you don't process this feeling, you might become, this bitter developer who talks badly about the market and sometimes who will blame the market because, it's not your fault, it's the market's fault. And every time that when you blame something external, you are always losing power. Keep that in mind. And this is the victim mindset. If you do many interviews and then you say, oh, this is the market's fault. No, man, it's not the market's fault. Like it's likely that there is something wrong you're doing. And that's okay, right? Because every one of us, like we will make some kind of mistake and that's okay. But the thing is that you have to understand what you're doing wrong and then you can fix it, right? And that happens a lot. Some developers, they try their dream job, they try their international job, but they stop after first few rejections. Imagine if that was me. If I did stop after a few rejections, I wouldn't be here in Dublin. I would be somewhere else. And I would be, earning very low salary in Brazil, and like my life would be completely different. So that's why mindset, guys, is so important. Like, and one powerful thing that I shared with you here, burn the boat, don't look back. And by the way, this was the strategy a general from Mexican army. I don't remember where exactly that happened, but this is a real, a realistic, a real story. And the general perceived, he noticed that the army, they were reluctant to fight and to conquer the territory because the boats were there and they could go back whenever they wanted. But then, since the general noticed that they were losing the war because they were giving up, he said, "Okay, you are thinking about giving up. Okay, so I'm gonna burn the boats." And then after he burned the boats, like there was no option. They would have to fight, to win the war, and won the war. I can give you the reference of this story later, but it's something real and you can research on AI. You can see this story. And this is very common as well, imposter syndrome, international environment. Sometimes we think, oh, like really? Can I handle the international environment? Because sometimes we think that, oh, the first world countries, they are superior, or they are working on much more advanced technologies, or they are much better than me. And those are just false beliefs. Because, I can tell you that first world projects, they have 3 times less pressure than a third world country. And when I say third world country, I mention the South American countries, right? I'm from there, so I can say that. So the thing is that first world projects, they are easier than third world projects. Why? Because of capitalism, right? Because, if in a third world country they have less money, they will pay as, less money as possible to get. And this happens everywhere in the world. Don't get me wrong. It's capitalism everywhere. But the thing is that, depending on the company, depending on the project, they will usually, that's not, obviously, it's not absolute rule, but usually they're going to work a lot more in a third world country rather than in a first world country. And they're going to earn, in average, okay, guys, they're going to earn at least the half of what you would earn in a first world country. Half, or I don't know, 1/3, or in sometimes 1/7. You can earn a lot less in a third world country. And now I might be thinking, oh, Rafael, you're saying that? Man, don't say that. But I can say that because I am from a third world country. So I say that because, it's okay in my case. But if I was from a first world country, then yeah, it would be weird I'd say that. But since I made the move, I can tell that. Okay, so the solutions is that you track progress weekly instead of focusing on failures, right? Because think about it. If you never done an international interview, like if you do at least one international interview and you fail, come on, man, it's progress, right? You faced your fears, you did an interview in another language, and you talked about, technologies in English. That's amazing. That's progress, right? Don't see that as failure, and treat each rejection as feedback. And this is a mistake that I see many developers making. They are rejected in an interview and they don't ask for feedback. So they have no idea what they have to improve. They just do the interview and they say, oh, the company says, oh, we moved with another candidate, and then they don't ask anything. They say, oh, thank you. No, you have to ask. That's very important. Collect the gold. It's very important to collect the feedback. Ask, okay, can you tell me what the other developer had that, that made a difference? Can you tell me what I could improve? And always give them a reason. Say, hey, I'm asking that because I want to get better. And, if you can tell me that, that would help me. And why? Because there was a research from a scientist, and I don't remember this story exactly, but basically they did a research where there was a queue and a person would ask to cut the line without giving any reason. And then nobody allowed this person to cut the line. But then the scientists discovered that if you try to cut the line and if you give them a reason, they're far more likely to say, oh, that's okay, okay, you can go. And, firstly, they tried that by giving a reasonable something, a decent reason, right? The person was saying, oh, I need to cut the line because I'm gonna miss my flight or whatever. So they gave a decent reason to cut the line, but then they were cutting the line and they were giving any reason. They were saying, I don't know, oh, because my dog is sick, whatever. The people said, okay, you can go. And according to the research, because they gave, the person in the queue a reason to cut the line, they got, if I'm not mistaken, around 80% more of acceptance. So you can use the same technique to ask for feedback. You can say, hey, give them a reason, right? Just say that you want to get better. You need to, whatever the reason you want to ask, but it's important to ask for feedback. Otherwise, you are blind. You don't know what you need to improve. Surround yourself with people who are already working abroad, communities, mentors, and you can find that in the Child Developer Mentorship, by the way. And why is that? It's because when you surround with people who already did what you want, you're far more likely to achieve it. And if you are in the wrong environment with toxic people, with people putting you down all the time, I can tell you, your chances of being successful are very low. So if you have toxic people around you, and you know that this person, those people put you down and they don't help you to be successful, cut those people from your life, right? And obviously, if they are in your family, it's okay, like just have less time with them, right? So this is a very important lesson. If you want to go ahead, if you want to grow as a developer in your career, you need to do those things. And I also recommend you guys to read or listen personal development books. So I gathered 20 books that tremendously helped me in my career, and you can see them here later. And those books really changed my mindset and made my mindset a lot stronger. And I recommend you. So in the end of this week in the live, I can share with you the mind map and you can get access to this. And I highly recommend you guys to listen to audiobooks while you're doing something else, because like I read more than 200 books. I read more than 200 books only by using Audible. And and this would be the time that I would waste because I listened to those books while I was commuting to work or while I was in the gym, while I was doing many other things, right? And the other problem is that developers don't go to conferences and they don't expand their comfort zone. They're comfortable on going only to conferences that everyone speaks their native language. Come on, guys, you need to go out of your comfort zone. Like if you want an international job, go to conferences where everything is in English. Come on. And going to a conference talking in your local language won't help you at all. Well, it will help you, obviously, because you're going to, still meet highly skilled developers, but, try your best to go to conferences where you find international people, right? So you need international exposure. And, the problems is, the thing here is that many of the developers who came here to Dublin and they failed is that they didn't know about the industry expectations. They didn't know what were the rules of the market here. And they also had a very limited network, right? So they basically wanted to stay in their comfort zones, right? So they didn't want to go the extra mile. They didn't want to do, little extra work. They just wanted to be in their comfort zone. So that's a big mistake. And the solution for that is to, attend at least one virtual Java conference every quarter, right? And I know that many developers would say that, oh, I can't go, I don't have money to attend a conference in another country. But come on, nowadays we have online conferences. You can access international conference from your house. Doesn't matter where you are. So keep that in mind. Like you can participate in international conferences online as well. For example, this international conference, you're gonna meet people from many countries in the world, right? And join global Java communities in Discord. And I mentioned OJP open source project, and I recommend you to join it if you are into open source. We have Jeder here. He also contributes to OJP, and he can help you to get started. And you can also join the Founder Developer Discord. And I'm gonna add that here just a moment. And you can meet international developers there as well. So afterwards, you can get to the mind map, and you're gonna have access to all of those Discord groups and everything else, and ask public questions, interact with international engineers. So you can, well, there are many communities, Discord, there are lots of technical communities, and you can get started here. Founder Developer, OJP, and start your journey. And the other thing is that developers don't evolve their communication skills, but they think that only technical skills is enough, but it's not. As I showed you here, there are lots of things. I wouldn't say lots of things, but this is kind of the simple but difficult, right? So the problems of not evolving your communication skills is that you will have a lot of difficulty to explain systems clearly. So if you never practice with a friend or in a mock interview, imagine if you practice that in a real interview. It's really nerve-wracking. So it's going to be very hard. So it's easier that you practice with a friend, you do mock interviews, you ask for feedback, and then it's going to be a lot easier to do international interview. And developers also struggle with trade-off discussions, right? And this is something that you have to get used to it, right? By studying system design, and there are 1 million ways you can find content on the internet, and there's no excuse nowadays to learn anything, because nowadays you have the most ultra powerful tool to learn anything you want in the world, which is AI, right? You can learn absolutely everything from system design only by using AI. So, and the other problem is that meetings feel uncomfortable in English. Why? Because, if you don't practice English, if you don't write things, if you don't do mock interviews, if you don't do the homework, everything in life will be hard. So there's a quote that is very powerful, and I don't remember exactly how it is, but it's basically that you're gonna train more, practice more, and bleed less in battle. So basically, the more you practice, the more prepared you are, you're gonna, bleed a lot less when you are in a war, right? So that's something to keep in mind. Like, the better prepared you are, it's gonna be a lot easier to do an interview, and it might be even a piece of cake, right? The solution is that, like I said, practice architecture explanation in simple language. How can you do that? You don't even need to do, well, it's good if you do everything, but you can also write an article and say, hey, this is the architecture from this project. And you can use frameworks like problem constraint, options, trade-off, decision, and you can even record yourself. And nowadays we have so many tools, right? We have OBS, we have Zoom, we have whatever. We have so many tools that we can record ourselves, and we can practice that, right? We can do a system design ourselves, and then we can give feedback to ourselves as well, right? Obviously, it's better if you have a friend giving you feedback, but that's a way, right? And like I said, you can do mock interviews in the Challenger Developer Mentorship. And don't work. The last mistake is that they don't work on their visibility. And as I told you, before coming to Dublin, I was already working on my visibility. So it's been years that I've been sharing my knowledge, and it helped me a lot. And the problems is that, if no one knows that you are capable of solving complex problems, no one will see you. Recruiters can't see your expertise. They don't have X-ray, right? They can't see your LinkedIn profile and have their mutant special powers and see what kind of skill you have. That's impossible, and this won't happen. But it's a lot easier. So that's why it's a lot easier if you show that you know your stuff, right? And how can you do that? It doesn't really matter the way. You can do whatever you want. Like, you have many ways. Like, you can write articles, you can do posts on LinkedIn, you can contribute to open source, you can give talks, you can create a video on YouTube, you can write a book. There are many ways to show your expertise. You can create a software as a service, you can create a SaaS system. There are many ways to show your knowledge, right? But recruiters don't have X-Men powers. They don't have X-ray vision to know if you're a highly skilled developer or not. So you need to do this work. You need to show that you are a good developer, but you need to have some kind of proof that you're a good problem solver. And the other mistake that I see is that developers, they blend in with thousands of similar Java developers. Like I said, if you're just a Java developer, why should international company hire you? Like no reason at all. If you're just a Java developer who doesn't have anything special, and everyone wants those international jobs because they pay more, you don't work that much. And when I say you don't work that much, obviously I'm comparing with third world projects, because I actually think that, okay, in Europe, in the US, you work like, fair hours. You don't work like crazy. You have a good, balance between your personal life and your professional life. That's what I mean. I don't mean that you not work at all. I'm just comparing that because sometimes, most of the times, what I see from developers is that they work many hours, they work overtime some days, and that's just how it is. And the thing is that you need to stand out in some way. And you could, for example, write mini posts on Java performance, concurrency, or Spring internals. By the way, Cheddar is doing that, and Cheddar is doing the Chandler Developer Mentorship as well. And you can push even small GitHub contributions weekly, because that will help you to gain visibility. And you have to put your GitHub on your CV as well, on your LinkedIn. And you can also share short insights from your daily work. Just remember that we have, most of you guys, like almost every developer, they have their NDA contract, which means that they can't share specific internal information from your project. So always when you share things about your current project in your company, don't mention anything specific like architecture or internal systems. Don't share sensitive data as well. But you can share generic information. Like you can say that, oh, today I applied the solid principle and it could make the code better. Or, oh, today I used a load balancer to improve the performance of my system, of the system. So, and then you can explain what you learned and how you did it. And that should be okay. So those are the biggest mistakes developers make that prevents them to get an international job. So they have no English learning habits. They think that they're gonna learn like from nothing. they will learn English automatically doing nothing. That's not the truth. You have to put the work. No focused preparation for international interviews. So what most developers do, they study random things. They do 1,000 job applications and they don't work on their visibility. And there are many elements, and you have to do all those steps in a logical sequence. Otherwise, if you don't have one thing, everything else might fall down. So you need to be very strategic. Like I said, consistency without strategy is like nothing. It's useless, right? So negligence on LinkedIn. So many developers don't even have their picture on their LinkedIn. How they can expect to land a job if not even a picture they can put on their LinkedIn, right? This is the basic. Weak mindset. They whine, they cry, they are impatient. They think that things should happen in a couple of months, and sometimes, well, you need to have patience, and you need to keep going, right? So developers with weak mindset, they usually have the victim mindset. So they are victims of everything. They are victims of the government. They're victims of the market. They are victims of AI. They are victims of everything. So this is the weak mindset. And I don't want you to have the impatient developer mindset or the whining developer mindset or the impatient developer mindset. I want you to have the challenger mindset, right? This is the most powerful mindset because you just go for it. Even if the odds are against you, you're gonna do it. You burn the boats and you go to the battle, right? So that's the thing that you need to do, because international job is not easy. It is a dream. It's a dream job, right? It changes completely your life. It changed my life. And I remember like when I got my first job here, like what I did, like I probably multiplied my salary by at least 3 or 4. I don't remember, but it was a lot. So it changed a lot, right? And developers don't go to conferences and don't expand their comfort zone. So they want to be watching Netflix or doing the doom scrolling on Instagram. So they want to do those things and they want to, or sometimes they claim that they are very busy or their lives are very complicated. So again, and I'm not saying, okay, sometimes they are right. Sometimes there are many complicated things happening. But, what do you want to, and, in the end of the day, this is just a story, right? And what you want to do, you want to have a complicated story and say that you achieved your goals despite of this complicated thing, or do you want to be the victim developer or the whining developer who says, oh, I couldn't do that because the market's too difficult, oh, because of my English, oh, because whatever. Every time you say that it's someone else's fault, you have zero power to change the situation. And that's the wrong mindset. I don't want anyone to have the victim mindset here. I want you to have the challenger mindset. It's a lot more powerful because it's like the mindset, okay, the world is unfair. I don't care. I will do it. I have disadvantages. I don't care. I will do it. That's the mindset, right? And if you have, oh, I have a very complicated situation in my life. I don't care. I will do it. That's the mindset. You do it anyway. So, and developers don't evolve their communication skills because, they don't do the work. They don't do anything. They don't write posts. They don't talk to their friends. They don't mentor junior developers. That's something you can do. You can mentor junior developer. You can help them to be better. They don't work on their visibility, so they do nothing to. They expect the recruiters to have the X-ray vision to see all your skills. And guys, you don't want that. We don't have X-Men recruiters. So you have to build your own visibility and, you have to make it explicit and say, hey, I know my stuff. I know how to solve problems. And so that's it, Challenger. And I have a special gift for you who stayed here until the end of this live. And basically, and I want to invite you for a free career diagnosis session. We're going to help you to fill out the gaps so that you can get international job as a Java developer, right? So you can click on the link below on the comment section and you can fill out the form and you can book the career diagnosis session and take action now because my schedule is pretty tight and the faster you book, the better because then you ensure that you're going to have this career diagnosis session with me. So that's it, Challenger. Thank you so much and I'll see you next